What's going on, YouTube? It's Big Brother 749 coming back at you with another video. I want to talk about the legalization of marijuana. I was just reading an article that was published a few days ago where it was saying that the majority of Democratic voters are feeling that the legalization of marijuana should be a top priority for Democratic Congress. And since today is 420, I decided to do this video on the legalization of marijuana. And after doing my own research on marijuana legalization a few years back, I feel that it's reasonable from what I've read, even though I don't really smoke weed like that myself, as far as recreational usage. I mean, I don't knock folks that do it on their free time or whatever. I can care less what other folks do. But me personally, I don't smoke weed. Medically, I would if I had to, or if it was legal and I was depressed or stressed out, I probably would. But I would use it wisely. But that's about it. But right now, in some states, marijuana is still considered a drug to where it's like you could get more time in jail than a child molester for smoking marijuana. And in Russia, you could get life in prison for doing drugs, and a lot of people don't know that. And some people would argue that marijuana is a non-threatening substance, and they'll give out reasons why they want to decriminalize it. And if they legalize it nationwide, of course, there's going to be criticism. And for years, there's been a lot of media attention surrounding the legalization of marijuana. It's became a hot topic, and it's caused a lot of debates all over the country and all over the world. And it makes me wonder, is marijuana really that bad of a drug? Is it as bad as the media and government say it is? Is it really a threat to our society and our youth? Or is it just a plant that's capable of easing the pain of the sick and rejuvenating the weary and bringing ease to our stressful lives? And even though there are positive sides to marijuana, it's usually portrayed in a dark light, which I can understand, since there's a lot of folks, especially with mental disorders, who abuse it to where they become paranoid and dumb and lazy. So I understand the first initial reaction whenever the discussion of legalizing marijuana is brought up. But marijuana legalization isn't necessarily a bad idea when you think about it, not only for medical reasons, but also for other reasons that's not often talked about in the media. Because first of all, marijuana is a natural plant. It's not a man-made drug. It's probably one of the most harmless functioning elements that's ever been known. It's a plant that's becoming widely accepted, and more than 20 states had already legalized it, and a few others are seriously thinking about legalizing it as well. Because there's been a lot of health professionals who feel that if marijuana becomes a replacement for alcohol, this might have a better effect for the most part as a whole on American adults. Because one of the main reasons that legalizing marijuana wouldn't be so bad is because, for one, like I said, medical reasons. Because nearly all prescriptions have outcomes that could be dangerous and possibly lethal. And marijuana doesn't produce those outcomes. And there's no documented proof that anyone has died from using marijuana. And there's been a lot of sick people and doctors who didn't mess with Marinol, for example, because they've found that smoking marijuana brings THC more productively. And it allows them to go on, with their normal everyday routine. And since the law who refuses to legalize marijuana, that actually has made folks suffer a lot of pain, especially for those who are seriously ill and may heal from this special type of medicine. Because those, who are against drugs, they try to tell us that marijuana has no curable uses. But the truth is that, as long as marijuana is against the law, all of us will never be able to use a very important medicine that's beneficial towards our health when it's used wisely, of course. But instead, we got drug dealers and violent street gangs who are in charge of this product. And police officers, they go out of their way to guard against this policy because they're feeling that smoking marijuana is a federal offense. Because I remember reading about a guy named Gary Johnson, who was a Libertarian Party presidential candidate and a former governor of New Mexico, who stated that the money from the marijuana sales in the states could be regulated and taxed, but instead it's going to the pockets of drug cartels. And only the legalization of marijuana would solve these problems, and the flow of money to the cartels would stop. So to take the power away from the criminal element, marijuana could be legalized. It would knock out, a product that they sell, because these gangs normally would grow weed in inappropriate places like nice parks and all that. And this situation could end with banning marijuana prohibition. And if marijuana remained illegal, all that's going to do is add on to the dangers of drug taking. Because let's say, for example, if a young person wants to smoke weed, he would have to go out to some street corner and buy it from a stranger or a violent drug dealer who would eventually persuade him to try harder drugs like ecstasy, crack cocaine, or heroin. But if the legalization of marijuana would pass nationwide, then he could be buying a joint from a safe convenience store, where it can be monitored and recorded. And some anti-drug people may argue that if marijuana became legal for adults, then that means that it could be easily be used by teens too. But teenagers already know how to get marijuana, whether it's from one of their peers, one of their buddies, or a drug dealer. But if it's legalized, at least that'll cut down on the numbers of dealers, and there'll be less, for them to get. And the thing is, society goes through pain and suffering under marijuana prohibition in a way. I mean, marijuana does have its bad parts, and I don't think it's for everybody, because, like I said, there's folks who's going to abuse it and not use it wisely. But at least it's not as bad as the harder drugs like heroin or cocaine or meth. And unlike cigarettes and other deadly things that are legal, it doesn't kill. It's been used and aided for those with glaucoma, depression, and the side effects of chemotherapy. And it's also been a help to treat AIDS and multiple sclerosis and cancer. And thousands of AIDS patients have smoked to deal with the symptoms that's coming from both the disease and drug therapy, because it has a renewing effect on the body, and marijuana also fights HIV. It also allows AIDS patients to gain weight and live longer, but because the law refuses to make marijuana legal, lots of people are suffering unnecessary pain, wasting their lives away because they can't eat, or they're struggling to live while being hooked on drugs that are more dangerous and addictive. And marijuana legalization will help these folks out when it comes to increasing their appetites and easing their pain. And medical cannabis, as doctors have shown before, doesn't just only bring ease to patients suffering from multiple diseases, but it's also not as bad as narcotics, for example, which can have really bad side effects. And medical marijuana is already legal in several states like Colorado. So the federal government might as well make it legal by law across the land, because it has the same consequences that are very much the same as drinking alcohol and using tobacco, which both are legal. And if a person drinks too much alcohol, that could be more dangerous than smoking marijuana. And most people would agree that using small amounts of marijuana confidentially under a doctor's supervision really ain't got nothing to do with narcotics trafficking. Because if Congress removed faults from the law to free prescribe marijuana from punishment and harm, this will stop the Justice Department from going after this obsession, because it shouldn't be made to favor one side over another, since both red and blue states have laws honoring and respecting the medical usage of marijuana. And the approval from other states and countries just lets us know that if we're going to use marijuana, we got to know how to use it wisely, as I was saying. There's got to be a limited usage, and we can't abuse it. And while marijuana usage can be bad for folks when it's not used right, the same can go for anything else that's illegal, such as alcohol, tobacco, excessive eating, or driving. But anyway, that's all I want to say, folks. Just giving my take on the legalization of marijuana. This is Big Brother 749 signing out. I'm out. Peace.